Hi, I'm Mickey Kaufman. I'm the immediate past president of the Wilf campus, and I'm here today to talk to you about Stein assisted living. So when I became appointed to the board of the Wilf campus around 10 years ago, I didn't really know much about the campus or Stein assisted living, but over the next couple of years I learned a lot about it, and I became quite impressed with the level of care that we provide to our seniors who need assisted living, as well as our facilities, our programming, the food service, etc. At around 2016, coincidentally, after I became president of the Wilf campus, my in-laws, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, who were getting into their 90s, started deteriorating in terms of their medical condition. My father-in-law had driven all his life. He was a salesman, but there came a point in time when my wife and I decided that for him to continue to drive was probably not a good idea. Maybe he was putting potential people at risk, and we wanted to stop him. So we had a difficult conversation, my wife and I, with my father-in-law, but eventually he saw that that was probably a prudent thing to do, and he stopped driving. They lived about a half an hour from us, and as a result of his discontinuing driving, and his wife had already stopped driving about 10 years before, he really wasn't in a position to go out and get groceries. They couldn't drive to their medical appointments, haircuts, beauty parlor, anything. So they became totally dependent on other parties to help them with basics, such as grocery store shopping, etc. And that fell on my wife and her sister, which she was happy to do. They were happy to do. But after a while, as you could imagine, with the increases in doctor's appointments, this became quite burdensome, and the lifestyle, if you step back, was quite deteriorating for my in-laws, both in terms of lack of socialization, lack of mobility, and he ended up watching reruns of Hogan's Heroes all day long, and not much in terms of food service to talk about. So I started mentioning to my wife that I'm involved with this beautiful campus down here in Somerset, and we ought to consider having your parents move down here. And her initial response was not exactly supportive. She said that that's going to be difficult because all of their doctors are up north, near where they live, or north of there. So I began to start thinking about it, and I talked to some people at the Wilf campus when we had an agency called Wilf Transport. And I said, I think we have a candidate to come down here, but they are going to need to be providing transportation to go to the doctor's offices. Fortunately, the campus administration reacted positively to that. Fortunately, also, we have a wonderful transport organization, and so with the ability to take my in-laws to doctor's appointments, this was, to me, seen as a huge benefit. Eventually, my wife totally agreed, as did her sister, and the three of us decided to sit down and talk to their parents about moving down to the Wilf campus, which I had told them about, and I told them how wonderful it would be. As you can imagine, initially they didn't take to it, so I suggested that they come down and look at it, which they did. And we brought them down, we gave them a tour, we showed them the apartment, and slowly they began to warm up to the idea. First, my father-in-law, and I took my mother-in-law a little longer. Then they wanted to know how much time they have to move out. They wanted 3 to 6 months, and my wife said no. We're going to do this. We're going to do this quickly. We found a buyer for the house who was going to fix it up and resell it. The house had been left in a deteriorated shape, so a lot of work needed to be done. But getting out of there was part of the benefit of moving down to Stein assisted living. So within a matter of literally weeks, my wife and her sister helped their parents go through all of their belongings, decide what needed to come, what could be thrown out, what could be given away. And I got a friend of mine to help decorate their new apartment, which was just perfect for them. So they came down here, and the day after they arrived, my father-in-law took me aside and said, "This is a wonderful thing that you did." He loved the fact that he was able to socialize for the first time in years by going out and participating in the various activities they have at Stein Assisted Living, and the opportunity to get 3 well-made meals a day was a huge benefit. And slowly but surely, my mother-in-law came along as well. So my father-in-law lived here for about a year. He was already well into his 90s, and he had lung cancer. He passed away about a year after we came. And we could just imagine how my mother-in-law would have fared with her husband having died. And she lived a good 3 years after he passed away, and everything that she needed was provided for her. Daily nursing care. Eventually we had to get special aids. The food was always made. If she wanted to participate in activities, they were there. If she didn't want to participate, she didn't have to. But all in all, I would say that looking back on it, and she passed away about a year ago, those last 4 or 5 years of their lives, Stein Assisted Living made very enjoyable and easy and allowed my wife some peace of mind. And it's not like she was in her 40s and parents were in the 60s. They were in their 90s, and my wife was in her late 60s. So it wasn't easy for her to do everything that she wanted to do to care for them. And so I just want to say that I want to thank Stein Assisted Living and its staff for everything they did for my in-laws. And if you are in a situation that is anywhere similar to what I've described, you might want to consider doing the same thing, because it'll benefit your parents.